like to say, just hit the like button on this video and share this video to your friends, to your colleagues, so that maximum number of our bankers can join with us in this session. Okay, so let's start today's class. And before to begin, I would like to say, if you're new on the Officers Adda 247, just subscribe the Officers Adda 247 YouTube channel, so that you can get regular update from our side, and download the Adda 247 application so that you can get everything at a one place, right? So, one more important thing, that is a one more update from our side, that our target batch is just started from from yesterday. And today, that was your first class of your accounting and finance. But, just do not need to worry here, because yesterday, whatever the sessions I have taken, that is only the introduction class. The main classes that is going to start from the Monday. Okay, so now you still have a time to join that session, and this session especially for the English medium aspirants, right? So by enrolling in this batch, you are going to get the 3 Macmillan physical books if you are enrolling in the batch with the books, right? And the 84 mock tests, which is a very essential for preparing any type of the examination, because by this you actually face a real examination situation. Okay, and whatever the questions that is taken in the mock test, that all based on the previous and memory based questions. So that is a very superb thing you are getting in the mock test. Okay, another thing, that 82 ebooks, which is also, you can understand the 82 ebooks, 82 you can also understand as a 82 short books, right? So you do not need to read too many pages from your book. You are getting the 82 ebooks as well for revision purpose. Okay, as well as a very important thing, that you are getting the 130 hours live classes. 130 hours live classes where you can directly interact with us. Like, if you're facing any problem at any chapter, you can directly interact with us, right? So like I say, that your batch is going to start from the Monday onwards. And this is a time, that is a now or never, because if I say that from financial, if I'm saying, like, from another sessions, like, your syllabus is going to be updated. So this is a very right time when you just only have to give the 3 papers, like PPB, AFB and LRB. So just make it happen, okay, with us. And if you see just a February session of ours, Officers Under 247, like, the huge rate of the success I just observed. Okay, and you still observe, right? So I think you have to be just enrolled in this batches. And this is also a very convenient price. Like, you only have to use the code Y422, and with this code you are going to get the maximum discount on this batch. So do not miss out this golden chance. You are getting the flat 77% off. And if you are just applying, if you are just enrolling through the application, so you are going to get 1 extra % off. Okay, and just do not forget to apply the code by422. Now let's start today's session. And today is a very important topic we are discussing, that is a trial balance. Okay, so before to understanding the trial balance, the very important thing that we have to understand, that is, what is double entry system. Okay, because this actually prepares, or say, this actually makes the foundation for your accounting subject. Because when I just talk about, like, any banking, okay, and if you just working in the bank, so you just know that, and everything in the bank, that based on the double entry system. Like, anything, suppose that any customer just approach to the bank, and just want to debit the 25,000 rupees from his account. And so what do you do? Okay, first you enter that transaction, and after that you will just post that transaction, right? So like, if I say that double entry system is actually applicable to, like in the every banking activities, right? So when what we understand by the double entry bookkeeping system, that we have to understand, according to the double entry bookkeeping system, just first understand what is the definition of that. So the double entry bookkeeping is a method of recording transactions. What we understand by the double entry. And the one more important thing I would like to tell you, in accounting, every term itself recognize, or say itself just reflecting its identity. Okay, so when we talk about the double entry bookkeeping system, what it means, that double entry bookkeeping system, now just read the definition. Okay, after that I will explain that. So the double entry bookkeeping is a method of recording transactions, okay, where for every business transaction. Now the very important thing I would like to tell you, then, whenever we are talking about the recording, so what we understand by the recording. Okay, we actually understood that in the laser, just 1 minute. Okay, so we actually just understand that the very first time when the transaction is going to be entered, okay, that actually entered in the journal. After that we post it into the laser, that we actually understand in the sessions, okay. After that we make the trial balance, and we actually make the trial balance for checking the arithmetical accuracy, all right. So that is a general laser trial balance, and after that we prepare a final account, and that you can understand by this processing. Like journal, after that journal, like from that journal, like journal is the very first place where the transactions very first time is going to be recorded, okay. After that it is posted into the laser, and after that it is, we make the debit and credit entries, and we make the trial balance, and trial balance is a very important chapter from your exam point of view. If I say, like, in the from the trial balance, that how many of the questions you are going to get in the examination, so I will say definitely you are going to get minimum, that I would like to tell you, that is a minimum 8 to 10 marks of the questions you are going to get from this single chapter, because there are multiple things that you have to understand in this chapter, like how to make the trial balance, like classification of the what are the class, like if the error is just occurring in the trial balance, so what kinds of the error that we understand in this session, classification of the errors, rectification of the errors, like how to rectify that, and that is a very important thing, because there you have to manage the, like, debit and credit transactions, right. So what I'm just going to convey you, this chapter is a very important chapter, so just understand with a very calm way, and the very important thing, that just use your pen and paper. If you're finding anything is important, so just pen down that, okay. Now, what I am just going to convey you here, that double entry bookkeeping system is a method of recording transactions. Okay, and whenever we talk about the recording transactions, where we record that in the journal. Okay, the very first time the transactions are going to record in the journal. After that, it is posted into the laser. After that, we make the trial balance. Look what the cycle is about. Like, this is a cycle. Look, I just want to explain you in a very clear way, because if you understand this concept in a very simple way, then the most of the chapters you can understand in a very fine way, okay. So if I'm talking about, like, just a minute, uh, so like I say, that every transaction is just, okay, I say that every transaction is just going to be first time entered in the journal, okay. So that is a your journal, and after that it is posted into the laser, and after that we make the trial balance, like to check the arithmetical accuracy. And the if I say that what is a trial balance, that we actually understand in the next slide. So trial balance, where we actually just, sum up the debit balance and as well as a credit balance, and if it is just mismatch occurring between the debit balance and the credit balance, then we have to just recognize that error, okay. So double entry bookkeeping system is a method of recording transactions, where for every business transaction an entry is recorded in at least two accounts as a debit or credit. Okay. In a simple way, if I say, the double entry system is a nothing but a debit and credit. That means every transactions has a, like, every transactions affect two accounts. Like, one account is to be debited, another account is to be credited. Okay. In a double entry system, the amounts recorded as a debits must be equals to the amount recorded as a credit, and that is a very important thing that we are just going to understand in this session. All right. What it line mean? What is the meaning of this line? That is, the very important thing that also be important, like you have to know, like, what components you have to keep under the debit side and what components you have to keep under the credit side, okay. And the very important thing, that the debit balance should be equal to the credit balance as well, right. So this is all about the double entry system, and with this we also understand that what is a journal, what is a laser, what is a trial balance, and when we talk about the final account, that is a very important thing. And if I say like, what is accounting, or say what is accounting and finance for bankers, so the journey started from this and the journey ended with this. That is the only thing. And the same way you're going to understand the chapters as well, like that is started, like if we just skip the module A, that is only for the business mathematics and finance, right. if I'm talking about the module B, okay, and the module B that is started, that is actually creates the basics of your, or say that actually creates the foundation of your accounting and finance, right? So if I'm talking about you started from the journal and you ended with the final account, where you have to understand like how to make the profit and loss account, because for every company, what is the important thing? For every company, what is the important thing? For any company, like if I say for any investor, what is the important thing? That for any investor, the very important thing, that to check the income statement of the company as well as the balance sheet of the company, okay, and that we actually understand in the final account, like how to prepare the final account. The final account is a nothing, a final account where you are just going to understand like preparation of the profit and loss account, how to prepare the profit and loss account, and how to prepare the balance sheet account, okay. And that is a very important thing, that for reaching there we have to understand like every process, because when we talk about the examination, you have to just follow the process, okay. There is no any shortcut way to just reaching out there, okay. So for that, journal, laser, trial balance, and after that we are just going to prepare a final account. That is a process, right? So I'm hoping that everyone just understand this, and if you're understanding this, then module B and module C would be the just cakewalk for you, okay. So now I just want to tell you the very important thing that you have to understand whenever you are just understanding this term, that is a double entry bookkeeping system. What is this? That double entry bookkeeping system where every debit transaction should be equal to the credit account, credit balance. Okay, sorry. Every transaction affects a two account. One account is to be debited, another account is to be credited. That is a very important concept you have to understand. Like every debit entry has its a credit. Hello everyone, a very good afternoon. So in the two way you are going to understand that, like first way, that what is that every transactions affect two account. One account is to be debited, another account is to be credited, and the another thing that every debit entry has its a credit entry. Now just understand with this example, okay. If I say that, that is a this is Mr. A, that I think everyone just understood. And Mr. A, this is a Mr. A, and this is Mr. A's company, which is named as a XYZ Limited. Hello everyone. Suppose that Mr. A actually purchased a furniture. So if I'm saying that Mr. A is purchasing the furniture for his company, right? So if I say Mr. A is purchasing the furniture for his company and for the cash of the 50,000 rupees. For the cash of the 50,000 rupees, Mr. A purchased the furniture from any person, or say from any other company. Okay, if I'm just talking about from any person, like Mr. B, suppose that. Okay, but you have to understand the how to make the debit and credit transaction. Just first analyze the transactions, and the very first thing that you have to understand, like which accounts can probably included in that transactions. So what I'm saying that, and what is a double entry bookkeeping system, that we have to understand, okay. So if I'm saying that, what exactly Mr. A did, that he actually purchased the furniture, all right. So he actually purchased furniture for 50,000 rupees. And the very important thing that you have to understand, that purchasing in the cash, okay. So whenever we are talking about the cash, that means that look, this is a very important concept you're going to understand. What I'm saying here, I am saying that here, that is Mr. A actually purchased furniture for the 50,000 rupees cash. Okay, so if I'm talking about like which accounts probably going to include in this transactions, the very important thing that you have to understand, the very first thing that you have to understand, that first try to analyze that which accounts is going to be included there. So the very first account, that would be the furniture account. Okay, another account, there are some students, there are some applicants who really confused between the he have to be include the second account of any person's name or the cash account, right? Suppose that if I'm talking about Mr. A purchased furniture for 50,000 rupees cash from Mr. B. Okay, so now if I say like second account would be, so you like we just often confuse between, like we have to include the Mr. B or the cash. So my dear friend, I would like to tell you, just you have to write here that is a cash account. Okay, if I am talking about Mr. A purchased furniture for 50,000 rupees on credit from Mr. B, That means we have to enter the name of the Mr. B there. Okay. Now the very important thing that now which account should be debited and which account should be the credited. The very important thing that we have to understand. And like if we just if we just make the like accounts, like if we just able to recognize which accounts is going to be included in that transactions, so that all the things would be very clear for us, like in which way I'm just talking about that. Just understand this. If I'm saying that this furniture account and the cash account we actually recognize, after that what we have to recognize, after that we have to recognize like which account is to be debited and which account is to be credited. Now the very important thing that you have to just put into the categories. Like in accounting we also understood like accounts, like how many types of the accounts, right? After that we understand like cash is actually the asset of the company. Okay. And if cash is an asset for your company, and all assets we actually keep under the real account category, isn't it? All assets we keep under the real account category. And for the real account category, golden rule of the accounting says debit what comes in and credit what goes out. So what exactly is happening? Just tell me what exactly is happening in that transactions. What exactly is happening? Mr. A, which is the owner, who is the owner of the XYZ Limited, actually purchased the furniture, and if he's purchasing the furniture for the cash, that means cash is actually going out from the business. That means asset is going out from your business in the form of the cash. And if it is going out from your business, that means that have to be credited. Why? Because for the asset, what we say, debit what comes in and credit what goes out. Because cash is just going out from your business, that means the cash account would be the credit and furniture account automatically would be the debited. That's it. Okay, that we only have to understand, right? Okay, if I say that if you one more important thing I would like to tell you, if you able to recognize only one account, that's also okay. Okay, because other account just opposite of that. Like if I'm just talking about furniture, if Mr. A is purchased the furniture, that means furniture is just coming into your business, and furniture is also the asset of your business, right? And if the asset is just coming into your business, that means we have to debit that. Okay, that's it. That's the only thing that we have to understand. All right, so this is the way we have to understand everything here, that how to just debit the furniture account and how to debit the cash account, right? So in that scenario, I am hoping that everyone just understand like how to write these transactions. So we can write here that is your furniture account should be debited to cash account would be credited, and with what amount? So that amount would be the 50,000 rupees. Okay, so that is a very important thing that I think everyone just understood. Now we are going to understand like how to prepare the trial balance. Okay, that amount would be the 50,000 rupees. Okay, so that is a very important thing that I think everyone just understood. Now we are going to understand like how to prepare the trial balance. Okay, now understand how to prepare the trial balance. Okay, so if I'm talking about like there are some process related to how to make the trial balance while preparing the trial balance. So the very first thing that you have to calculate the balances of the each of the ledger account. Look, again we have to understand what we understood, like the very first thing that, and you have to memorize that all the process. All right, like the very first thing that record the transactions in the journal. After that we post into the ledger. Just tell me, after that the trial balance, after that the final account. Okay, so what exactly is happening here, that is a calculate the balances of each of the ledger account, the very first step. Second step, record debit or credit balances in the trial balance. This is somehow tricky, and you have to understand like how to make the trial balance while preparing. So look, the very important concept I would like to tell you here, just a minute. Okay, okay, the very important concept we are going to understand here, that like if we are just making the debit and credit transactions, and we know that like, from the double entry bookkeeping system, every transactions every transactions affect the two accounts. One is a debit, another one that is a credit. Okay, Now the very important thing that we have to understand, and on that basis the many of the questions you are going to get in the examination, like which component we have to keep under the debit and which components we have to keep under the credit side. Okay, so if I'm talking about like on the debit side, what we have to keep, we have to keep the assets, we have to keep the expenses, okay, that we keep on the debit side. And what components we keep on the credit side? So we can say the liabilities, incomes, gains, that all we keep on the credit side, and that's the only thing we have to understand while preparing the trial balance and nothing else. Okay, and on that basis you are going to get definitely 2 marks questions in the examination, where you have to just where you have to just make the debit and credit balance either, or if I say that you also have to just find out like that transaction would be on the debit side, and what transactions that should be on the credit side. So when I talk about like you have to record the debit or credit balance in the trial balance, so I'm just hoping that everyone just understood this. Like the very important thing that you have to memorize, like what components you have to keep under the debit and what components you have to keep under the credit side. So assets, expenses, that we all keep in the under the debit side, and the liabilities and incomes and gains we all keep under the credit side. Okay, so when I'm talking about like how to prepare the trial balance, so the very important thing that the very first step, calculate the balances of each of the ledger account. The second step, record debit or credit balances in the trial balance. The third step, we have to calculate total of the debit column. So okay, so what I'm just conveying here, that this is a debit side and this is a credit side. So if I'm saying that you have to calculate the total of the debit column. Okay, so whatever like you just written here, that is assets, expenses. Okay, so you have to debit that debit, you have to calculate, or say you have to just sum up all the debit balances here. And if I'm talking about that on the credit side, that all the liabilities, incomes, gains, that whatever you are just putting under the credit side, so that you also have to calculate, right? So if I'm talking about like the third step, that is that calculate the total of the debit column and total of the credit column. And now the very important thing, and that would be the last step of the trial balance, that is check if debit is equal to credit or not. And that is the purpose of your trial balance. Okay, so like I'm hoping that now everyone just understood this concept, like what is the real concept behind the trial balance and why we prepare the trial balance. So this is the reason why we prepare the trial balance. Okay, so I'm hoping that everyone just understood this concept, like what components, and after that what we have to do, we have to just like check if debit is equal to credit or not, and if there is any mismatch is happening, that means error is actually arises. Okay, so now we are just going to understand a very important thing of the trial balance, that is the classifications of the errors. Okay, so suppose that look why error has happened. Okay, so that means there is a some time there may be some time, there may be some kinds of the reasons behind that. Okay, so for that, like debit is not equal to the credit, that's why the error is arises, right? So there are basically 4 type of the errors in the preparation of the trial balance you are going to get. The very first is the error of the omission. Okay, so the very first error, that is the error of the omission. The second error of the commission. The third error of the principal, and the fourth error is a compensating errors. And all errors you are going to understand in a very fine way, just do not need to worry. Okay, so I'm hoping that everyone just enjoying this session, and if you're enjoying this session, just do not forget to like the hit the like button. Okay, just also hit the like button here. So now we are going to understand what are the different type of the errors and the errors classification. All right, so like if I say in the flow chart, I think it is visible for everyone. So there are type of the errors, and the error is actually classified into the four main types. Okay, the first type is a error of the omission. The second type, error of the commission. The third type, error of the principal. And the fourth type is a compensating error. Right? Now, the very important thing that you have to understand, like error of the omission is further classified in 2 categories. The first category is that is known as a complete omission. The second category is a partial omission. Okay, so if I'm talking about like error of the omission, classification of the error of the omission is a further classified into the complete partial omission. Now if I'm talking about the error of the commission, so error of the commission is further classified like error of recording, error of casting of subsidiary books, error of totaling of balancing of accounts, error of posting, error in carrying forward. Okay, the most of the candidates confuse between the error of the commission as well as the error of the principal, and that all we are going to understand. Just do not worry. Okay, so when we talk about the error of the commission, so what kind of the error it may be? So like it may be the posting for the wrong side but correct account. Okay, so what it means, like if I'm saying that you have to debit one account but by mistake you are just going to credit that. Okay, so that is a kind of the error, like posting to the wrong side but correct account. That means we if I'm talking about like in the account, like if I'm talking about the Mr. A account. Okay, so this Mr. A, like if I'm talking about Mr. A account, and what I understood that every account that affect the, like every transaction just affect the two account, that is a one is a debit and one is a credit account. Okay, so if I'm talking about like Mr. A account, that is like debit side this and credit side this. Okay, so posting to the wrong side but correct account, that means like if I'm talking about this Mr. A account, this is the debit side of the Mr. A and this is the credit side of Mr. A. By mistake, you actually posted what you have to post on the debit side, you actually posted into the credit side. That we all understand with the example. Okay, so in a 1 hour, whatever we are going to cover, that is you have to just understand, right? So if I'm talking about like Mr. A account, so like what you have to debit. Okay, by mistake you actually credited that. That means suppose that you have to debit the 1000 rupees from the Mr. A account, but by mistake you actually credited that account. So that is a kind of the error that known as a error of the commission, and you only have to understand here that is a posting for the wrong side but correct account. Okay, so wrong side, that means you have to debit but you actually just by mistake you actually credited that. Another type of that posting to the wrong account but correct side, that means posting to the wrong account but correct side. What it means that, like suppose that you have to debit any account. Okay, so you actually debited but by mistake you actually debited the another person's account. Okay, so that is also comes under the error of the commission. Most of the one actually confuse between like error of the commission and error of the principal in this particular reason. So I would like to tell you, whenever any mismatch, or say whenever any account. Okay, and if I'm talking about the account of any company, that may be your what, that may be your wages account, salary account. Okay, that is actually from the fundamental of any companies. Okay, or say you can also understand that is actually the fundamental accounts for any company. So if you violate that, if you violating the, like if you have to just debit that account but by mistake you are debiting the another company's account, like company's another account, so where we have to understand that kind of the error is actually known as the error of the principal. But whenever we're talking about like any person, okay, so then we have to consider that if it is posting to the wrong account but for the correct side, and if you're talking about for any kind of the persons. Okay, so then what kind of the error that is the error of the commission. Okay, what I am conveying here, just understand. Suppose that what I'm saying, just understand what is the difference between the error of the commission and error of the principal. That is that I am telling you, and where the most of the applicant just confused. Look, what I'm just saying that, suppose that if I'm talking about for company. Okay, so for company account, if I'm saying that this is a wages account. Okay, suppose that you have to debit the wages account but by mistake you debited the salary account, so that all account actually belongs to the company's account, right? But by mistake, you have to debit the wages account but by mistake you actually debited the salary account. I am hoping that everyone just understand what is the wages and what is the salary account. Wages actually belongs to your like if I'm talking about any company, so like if I'm talking about the wages actually belongs to the laborers. Okay, so whatever the payment you are going to give to the laborers, that is actually considered under the wages account, and whatever the expenses, or say whatever the salary, whatever the payment you are going to provide you of your office premises, or say of the to the employees of your office premises, that belongs to the salary. Okay, so that is the difference between the wages and salary account. So that actually you violating the fundamental principles, so that's why it is considered as a error of the principle. But when I'm talking about, you have to debit the Mr. A account, but by mistake you are debiting the Mr. B account, so this is actually considered as a your error of the commission. Okay, either you can also understand that the very important thing that suppose that there are two accounts like cash account, just forget the cash account. If I say that there is a two account like Mr. A and Mr. B, and you have to debit the Mr. A account, but by mistake you are just debiting the Mr. B account, so that kind of error is also known as a error of the commission, right? So I'm hoping that everyone just understood that, right? So the another, that is a posting of the wrong amount. If I'm talking about the posting of the wrong amount, this is also known as an error of the commission. Suppose that if I'm talking about, suppose that we have to debit the 900 rupees, we have to debit the 900 rupees, but by mistake we actually debited the 9,000 rupees. Okay, so this is also kind of the error of the commission. Okay, so this is known as a posting of the wrong amount. After that, the another, that is a posting twice in the account. That means suppose that if I'm talking about, this is a debit and this is a credit, but you by mistake instead of the credit you actually posted the both the transactions in the debit side. Okay, that means instead of crediting you also just again debit that. So that is a kind of the error which is known as a posting twice in a account, right? So I'm hoping that everyone just understand this beautiful concept of the error of the commission. And I just know that you guys where you guys actually can be confused, so on that basis I'm just explaining everything. Okay, whatever I just explained in this short hours, right? So error of the commission, that kind of the error of the commission where error of the recording, error of the casting of subsidiary books, error of totaling of or balancing of accounts, right? Error of the posting, error in carrying forward, so that all kind of the error you are going to get the error of the commission. The another kind of the error, that is a error of the principle. And in the error of the principle, if I'm talking about, that is also classified into two categories. The one is treating capital item as revenue. Okay, what it means that you are actually treating the capital item as revenue or treating revenue item as a capital, that is a kind of the error of the principle. Okay, after that, compensating error, where one error does compensate other another error, that is known as a compensating error, right? now now just understand one by one, that is error, what we understand by the error of the omission. Okay, so when we talk about the error of the omission, so error of the omission may be caused at the time of, just first read this definition, after that I will explain you everything here. Okay, so if I'm talking about like error of the omission may be caused at the time of recording the transactions in the book of original entry, and this book of original entry is nothing but a journal where the first time transaction is going to be recorded. Okay, or at the time of posting to the ledger. So this kind of the error actually is actually going to occur when the at the time of the recording the transactions in the book of the original entry, or you either you can understand that while preparing the journal, that error may be arise, and either, or you can also say that at the time of the posting to the ledger, this error may be arise. The error of the omission arises when a business transaction is completely or partially omitted to be recorded in the books of the account. So you can understand like error of the omission, and omission actually relates to your omit. Okay, when we are just going to understand like what we understand by the omit. So omit, that means you actually skipping. Okay, so you can just memorize this, or you can just understand by this that whenever you find the term that is error of the omission, so you have to understand like something you actually omit, or you can also understand something you actually skip. Okay, so that kind of the short things you are just going to understand in my session. So just be always prepared with pen and paper, and if you're finding anything is important, just pen down that I'm again just saying that. So error of the omission that may be caused at the time of the recording the transactions in the book of the original entry, or at the time of the posting to the ledger. And error of the omission arises when a business transaction is completely or partially omitted to be recorded in the books of the account. That means either you are forget, you can also understand the error of omission that you forget something. Like suppose that you have to just what I say, that you have to just make the debit and credit transaction, but by mistake you only have you, or say you only debited the transaction, but you forget to record the transactions of the credit side. So that is a kind of the error of the omission. The second thing, what may be that you forget both type of the entry, like debit and credit for any transaction. So okay, so this is I am talking about like for any transactions, if you forget to record the credit side but you actually recorded the debit side, so this is kind of the error which is also known as the error of the omission. So error of the omission is actually understandable as a, like if you omit something, if you skip something, so that is the kind of the thing, that error of the omission. Okay, so the part of this, like complete omission and the partial omission. So when we talk about the complete omission, so complete omission means the transactions which is completely omitted to the recorded in the books of the original entry, and thus cannot be posted in the ledger, or through recorded in the journal or journal proper but omitted to be posted in the ledger completely. These errors do not affect the agreement of the trial balance, because you know what I say, that if you forget the debit and credit both the transactions, suppose that if I'm saying that you forget the debit and as well as you forget the to record the credit balance. Okay, and now if we are preparing the trial balance, so you know both the transactions actually we forget to record, and if the both sides we actually not recorded, that means that actually just do not affect the trial balance, and based on that we just we often saw the questions in the examination. So you have to understand this is a very important thing, like the question that may be like complete omission can affect the trial balance or not, true, false, true, there are multiple options are given and you have to choose. There is a one option. Okay, so in the complete omission case, it does not affect the trial balance. This is a very important line you have to understand. Okay, that's it for the complete omission. But if the partial omission, if we're talking about the partial omission, so error of the partial omission means error of omission other than the error of the complete omission. That's obvious to understand. In other words, when a transaction is partially recorded in the books of accounts, it is known as error of partial omission, and these errors hamper the agreement of the trial balance, which is debit and credit. That means if I say what I'm just going to convey here, just understand. If I'm saying that this is a debit balance and this is a credit balance, and you actually, and we are just making the trial balance. Okay, for any transaction, if you just forget to record the transactions on the credit side, okay, but you actually record the transactions of the debit side, so this is actually this what it just what it would just create, it would create like debit balance now would be greater than the trial balance. Suppose that, because if I'm talking about like you forget to record the credit balance, that means the debit balance should be more than the credit balance, right? So that means there is a mismatch happening, because for the trial balance we say that debit balance should be equal to the trial balance, but here we are getting the case of the more than the, like debit balance is more than the credit balance, because we actually forget to record the transactions on the credit side. Okay, so I'm hoping that this concept is understandable for everyone. Okay, so that's all about the error of the omission. So where error of the omission we actually classified in two categories, like complete omission, partial omission. Now understand error of the commission. So error of the commission that we actually understood, like error of the commission means and include errors caused due to wrong recording of the transactions. Okay, so whenever we talk about like any errors that cause due to wrong recording of the transactions, wrong casting of subsidiary books, wrong totaling or balancing of the account, that is also very important. the what I'm telling, that what I'm just explaining you, that suppose that you are just making the debit and credit balance, okay, uh, right? So if I'm saying that you actually just done you actually did the mistake while totaling of the debit and while totaling the credit balance. Suppose that if I'm talking about this debit balance is a 900, this is also 900, but by mistake you actually just mistake occurred here, like this should be 850 for example, okay. So that means if any mismatch, if any error that is due to, like if I say that while totaling or say the balancing the accounts, so that kind of error is also understand as an error of the commission. Okay, so these errors may or may not hamper the agreement of the trial balance. That is a very good thing that you have to understand, that you can understand by this way. Okay, so like if I'm talking about any goods that worth of the 2000 rupees that sold to Mr. X on credit has been recorded in the sales book for 20,000 rupees. What it means, that suppose that any kind of the goods that is worth of 2000 rupees that sold to Mr. X on credit has been recorded in the sales book for the 20,000 rupees. So that is a, we have to just, if I say that credit should be recorded as a 2000 rupees, but instead of the 2000 rupees it is actually posted as a 20,000 rupees. That is a case of your, wrong amount. Okay, so that is also the part of the error of the commission, and I am happy that, and I'm hoping that everyone just understood this concept, because this is a very important, in the examination you are going to get two kinds of the thing, like wrong amount, totaling of the debit or credit balance. That's all about you are going to get in the examination. Okay, so I'm hoping that everyone just understood this concept as well. Now, what we understand by the error of the principle, you only have to understand whenever you just violating the company's fundamental principle, fundamental rules, then what kind of the error that arises, that is a error of the principle. So now just understand with the definition. So error of the principle mean and include errors caused due to violation of generally accepted accounting principle, which is also known as a gap, right? So these errors would lead to understatement, overstatement of assets or expenses or liabilities or incomes, and these errors do not disturb the agreement of the trial balance. So because this is a very important thing also you have to understand, because one question you are definitely going to get based on this, and this kind of the questions actually known as the conceptual questions, where you actually have to understand the concept of the topic. Okay, so look, if I'm talking about the errors of the principle, again, I'm saying that whenever you are posted into the wrong account, right? That means instead of showing the income, you are actually showing the liabilities. Instead of showing the liabilities, you are showing the income. So that kind of the error is known as the error of the principle. And in the previous example, the only thing I just want to tell you there, that if you're violating the fundamental principles of the account, right? So that you have to understand. You can understand error of the principle as this, like if I'm talking about, there is you actually purchase, okay, that any transactions you have to show in the purchase, but by mistake you are showing in that the sales book. That means you are violating the uh, fundamental principles of the accounting. Okay, so that means you have to show the purchases, but by mistake you are showing the sales. That means this kind of the error is a error of the principle. You only have to understand by this example, that suppose that you have to show the income, but by mistake you are showing the expenses. So if I'm talking about the income, and that arises from the sales, and if I'm talking about the expenses, that kind of the salary, that kind of the purchase, right? So that you actually violating the fundamental principles of the accounting. Okay, so that's why this is the error of the principle, where we can understand where this error caused due to violation of the generally accepted accounting principles. Okay, so I'm hoping that everyone just understood this, because this is a very important concept, and this is there, like if I'm talking about this is a place where most of the candidates just confuse between the error of the commission and error of the principle. Now I'm just hoping that everyone just understood this concept with a very beautiful way. So now if I talk about what is compensating errors. So like when two or more errors are committed in such a way that the effect of one error is compensated by the effect of another, it is known as compensating error. Okay, that means what I'm going to say, just understand in a very simple way, just do not memorize any statement here. I am talking about, suppose that this is the debit side and this is the credit side. What I'm saying that, like I'm saying that, just read the definition first, because this is a very important. When two or more errors are committed in such a way that effect of one error is compensated by the effect of other, it is known as a compensating error. And it is worth mentioning that the net impact of these errors on the debit and credit of the account is nil, and these errors do not disturb the agreement of the trial balance, because error of the principal do not affect, compensating error do not affect, okay, complete omission do not affect the trial balance, because here one side of the if one side of the mistake is actually compensating the other side of the mistake. So if I'm talking about, this is a debit side, this is a credit side. So if I'm talking about, suppose that you actually undercast the debit side by the 1000 rupees, and the same way you actually undercast the credit side as well with the 1000 rupees. That means the one mistake is actually compensating the other mistake. Okay, now the very important thing is also going to be understand, that is what is undercast and what is overcast, that we actually discuss in the lecture. So just do not worry. Whenever you are just whenever you just record the transactions lower than its actual value, suppose that you have to record the transaction 5000, but you actually recorded that transaction as a 3000, that means you actually undercast this transaction by the 2000 rupees, right? And when we talk about the overcast, what it means, that suppose that you have to record the transaction 5000 rupees, but by mistake you recorded the 8000, that means this is a case of your overcasting with the 3000 rupees. Okay, so this is a case of your undercast and overcast. So suppose that one side you actually undercast the 1000 rupees in the debit side, the same you undercast in the credit side, that means you have one error that compensating the another error. So this is the compensating error. Okay, so the main thing that most of the questions that you are going to get in the examination, that would be from error of the principal, commission error. Okay, and the difference between, I think everyone just understand, whenever you're violating the fundamental principles of the accounting, instead of showing the purchases you are showing the income, that then error of the principal. Instead of showing the income you are showing the expenses, then error of the principal. Error of the commission, wrong amount, wrong account, wrong amount, wrong account, wrong totaling of the debit, or I would say credit. Wrong account, you have to debit the Mr. A account, by mistake you debited the Mr. B account, commission error. Okay, you have to debit the purchase account, by mistake you are debiting the sales account. Now we are going to do our questions based on the trial balance, and this is a very important question we are going to discuss here. Okay, so like the we have to prepare the trial balance, and the balances are given and the amounts are given. Okay, so what we have to do, the very first thing that we have to understand while making the debit and credit side, like what components we have to keep under the debit side and what components we have to keep under the credit side. So like I explained you, that is assets, expenses, that all we have to keep under the debit side, and the liabilities and the incomes and the gains we have to keep under the credit side. Okay, so now we have to analyze the very first thing, that opening stock, is it is asset or it is it is liabilities, or it is a kind of the income and gains. So what exactly we have to do, we have to just categorize into this debit and credit side, and after that we have to just make the total of that, and if it is equal, that means our trial balance would be the perfect. So opening stock, that would be considered as an asset for the business. All right, so a stock is always be an asset for the company, so that would be just put into the in under the debit side, 5,20,000 rupees. Closing stock is also the asset, so just put it under the debit side, that is 50,000 rupees. Salary and wages is kind of always is a kind of the expenses for the company, so that's why we will keep under the credit side. Sales generate the income, and if sales is generating the income and sales is of the 8 lakh rupees, so that means this would come under the credit side. After that, plant and machinery, what it is also the asset for the company. All right, so that would be considered as on the under the debit side. so that would be keep under the 2 lakh rupees, that under the debit side. Drawing is a kind of the expense, and this will be considered as like a proprietor or the owner just withdrawing the money or the sum of the amount of the goods from his company, okay, or say from his firm. So that will also be considered as an expense. So expense would be considered as under the your debit side. So this would also be like 50,000 rupees under the debit side. Now talking about investment. Investment is always be considered as your what asset for your company. So here you can just write your asset. So just write here that is 4 lakh 30,000 rupees. Now creditors, creditors that means that or say to the firm, to the company, to the organizations to whom that we have to provide the money, okay, like from whom just we are just borrowing the money. So that is known as a creditor. So creditor, that means that is a kind of the liability for us, okay, and if it is a liability, we will keep under the credit side, right? Now the capital is given, that is 4 lakh rupees, okay. So if I'm just talking about here, if I'm just writing here that is a capital, just a minute, if I'm just talking about that is a capital is given, so that would be just writing under this under the credit side, so that would be equal to the 4 lakh rupees, okay. So what I am just conveying here, that is I think we keep this 50,000 rupees wrong. Instead of writing here, just a minute here, assets we keep like opening stock. This is the 5,20,000 rupees. After that, closing stock we keep under the debit side. Uh, Expenses, that is kind of salaries and wages, that would keep, that is the expense, and that would keep under the debit side, right? And by mistake we actually just make under the credit side. So this would also come under the debit side with this 50,000 rupees, okay. After that, if I'm talking about the sales is of the 8 lakh rupees, that would be on the credit side. I'm hoping that everyone just understood this, okay. Just let me erase all of the things here. After that you are going to understand this in the better way. So what I'm just going to tell you, that is this is a debit and this is a credit. So this is actually the asset, this is actually the asset, this is the expense, this is your this would be your income, okay. So if I'm talking about the opening stock, so you are just going to write here under the debit side 5,20,000 rupees. Closing stock, that would be the 50,000 rupees. Salary and wages is a kind of the expense we also keep under the debit side, so this would be under the debit side. Sales, that would be come under the credit side, so this would be 8 lakh rupees, all right. And plant and machinery, this is also the asset, so just keep under this 2 lakh rupees. Drawing is a kind of the expense, just keep under the debit side 50,000 rupees. Investment, it is your 4 lakh 30,000 rupees, it is a also kind of the asset, so just keep under the debit side. Creditors, to whom we have to provide the money, this is a kind of the liability, so just keep under the credit side. Capital also comes under the credit side, okay. Now what we have to do, now we have to just make total of the debit and credit balance. So if you are just making the total of this, that would be equal to 8, 4 and 1, that would be equal to the 13 lakh. And now if you are just making total of that, this also would be just sum of this, and you are going to get the answer of this also. So this would become 620 and 620, and this, and after that 620 and this 50, this 2 lakh, this become the 3 lakh, and this is again 430. That means this also would be just as a 13 lakh. That means our debit balance is actually equals to our credit balance, and this is how we actually prepare the trial balance in the examination, right? So now again I just want to show you that at target batch is just started, and the class is going to start from on the Monday onwards. So this is a, this is a last chance, just grab this opportunity, because you just require a disciplined study, because you have a working hours. So this batch is a very important if you're preparing for the upcoming examination of the JIB, right? So you only have to use a code Y422, and with this you are going to get the maximum discount as well. So what exactly you have to do and how to enroll in the batches, that I'm just going to show you, like how you can enroll in the batches, right? So what exactly you have to do, that you have to visit the adda247.com, the website, and where you are getting the multiple batches that is actually running. You have to just go to the JIB CIB section, and in the JIB CIB section, just go into the JIB, And here you can see that multiple batches that is actually running, and that is like bilingual as well as the English language. So if I'm talking about like bilingual as well as the your English medium batches, so if I'm talking about the target batch for the English medium, so the what things you have to do, like for the purchasing, you have to go to the buy now section, and here you have to apply the code, that is Y422. Okay, so with this now you can see that prices are so much reduced, and this is for like if you're just enrolling in the batch with the books. And if I'm talking about the without books, then price also just so much reduced. Okay, so this is how you actually can enroll in the batches, right? So now I'm just now I'm just signing off, and I'm just hoping that everyone just understand this beautiful session, right? So just thank you for attending this session, and I'm hoping that everyone just understood this session. So thanks for watching me here, and thanks for joining me here. Very, very much thank you for joining me in this session.